things are getting very weird right now for the Golden State Warriors. This team has been at the center of all the different trade discussions across the NBA. And now we have some interesting developments regarding Anthony Davis that have a bunch of people now pitching Anthony Davis to the Golden State Warriors. So we'll discuss that and how he'd fit and the cost, and also some other preliminary things, as the Warriors could get involved in an Anthony Davis trade, but not how we specifically think, going in around the edges. So we have that, and on top of it, some absolutely wild quotes from Steve Kerr, which frankly put the writing on the wall for Jonathan Kuminga if it wasn't there already. I think I've already made a bunch of videos titled hey, it's official and stuff, but now let's dive into that first, Houston, because everyone knows the Jonathan Kuminga situation has gotten messy. It's been tough. He's getting DMPs here now at this point, and it's gotten to the point where Steve Kerr is just straight up feeling bad for JK out there in the media. He's coming out and directly stating that my desire for JK is for him to become the best player he can be, regardless of where he ends up, whether it's here or whether it's somewhere else. So Steve Kerr said this, and on top of it, Houston ended up coming out saying this: I do feel for him that has been sort of at the whim of my decision making based on what I want to see out of our team. So of course I've been out here pretty pro JK, this whole situation. I think a lot of Warriors fans are in the camp of like, hey, it's fallen apart, it's gotten messy, but we wouldn't be shocked if he goes to the right situation and then becomes an all-star caliber player, but that is what it is. But it is absolutely insane to see Steve Kerr just already being melancholy out here in these post-game interviews, and he's still on the roster.
Yeah, he's talking about it like this guy's been off the team for years. It is one of those things where this debacle has continued to just grow and grow and grow and grow. Even at the beginning of the year, Warriors are 4-1 to start things off. Jonathan Kuminga looks excellent. He's averaging 17 a game. And then all of a sudden, the losses start coming. Kuminga's not playing well. And here we are again, sitting a game above 500, and he's having one of his worst years in a while. And so you root for the 21-year-old. You like Jonathan Kuminga. You want him to be successful. But then the DNPs happen. Even the game 2 nights ago, or 3 or 4 nights ago, the Warriors end up winning. All the younger guys are playing well. Pat Spencer's having a good night, and Jonathan Kuminga starts like 0 of 10 from the field. Doesn't even really look like he wants to be out there. So this relationship between Steve Kerr and Jonathan Kuminga, whether or not it's really as strained as some people say it is, or it's the best thing in the entire world and they're best friends, it doesn't really matter, because this situation is so uncomfortable at this point that it feels inevitable that as much as even if both camps want to make it work, Jonathan Kuminga's gone at the deadline. He's gone.
Yeah, you don't make quotes like this and then, keep the guy on your team. Hey, man, I just feel bad for him. No matter where he ends up, I just want to be better. But the unfortunate thing is, this season, we talked about Jonathan Kuminga's trade value. There's a ton of reports. We're going to make more and more videos out there on this situation. But he just unfortunately is having a horrific year in terms of his efficiency, in terms of finishing at the rim. He's settling for a lot of mid-range jumpers, and he's not that guy out there in terms of a floor spacer to where that should be his primary, focus out there in his game. So, just in terms of fit, especially where the Warriors are looking to be competitive now with Steph Curry coming back out there in the coming days, you're in the play-in mix here right now. You are right on the tails of the Phoenix Suns, of the Minnesota Timberwolves, and then you can vault up the Western Conference the way this squad has been playing. It just sucks for JK, but we'll see how the trade market comes out. But if it wasn't official before, these comments from Steve Kerr just make it completely clear. Like it fits the it is just weird what's going on. It sounds like, oh yeah, he's done, he's gone. He's still on the team, and he still could have an impact. He plays a role that ideally we need, especially with all the injuries that have been going on. But it's just gotten to a point of no return.
Yeah, and again, it is unfortunate because you sign him to the deal. You feel content about where it's working at. You think maybe even if he plays well, then the trade value skips up. And then to start the year, like I said, 4-1, things are going well. Yep. But now over the last couple of weeks, the Warriors are not in a position anymore where we can try and play him and see if things can work out, right? We're a game above 500, right, fighting, and we have room to work up. Even the second closest team, we're 3 games behind with the T-Wolves, and then a significant jump up to obviously the Thunder, who are having quite the year, but we're not talking about them. It might get ugly if we start talking about them.
We're catching OKC. We're catching OKC.
Yeah, if you think that's the 81-1 season right here for the Thunder, just wait until to see what the Warriors do over the final 75% of the season. But no, it's a crazy situation, and like you said, as much as we want to root for him, see him go somewhere else and do well, I just want to see the Warriors winning games, and if that means Jonathan Kuminga is either benched or gone, as much as I like the guy, like I said, I think it's inevitable.
Yeah. Very strange situation going on with Steve Kerr, but Houston, we have a stranger situation going on with these latest Anthony Davis rumors. And now, I'm going to preface this. Anthony Davis, when he's on the court, is still a phenomenal basketball player. 20 points per game, 10 rebounds, 3 assists. He's very efficient. He's one of the better defenders out there, the big man spot. And frankly, you insert a healthy Anthony Davis out there into this lineup, just in a vacuum, right? You could just insert him into this team. He'd be great. Add some defense out there in the front court. Add some depth for a front court that, again, QP, I'm going to keep bringing up this stat, but this man has been a sneaky good defender this season. Top 3 in defensive rating across the league. Up there with a bunch of OKC players. So the fact that he's doing this on the Warriors squad is impressive. But 80 in a vacuum would be awesome. And because of this, you're starting to see some rumors percolate because of this recent report. So Shams basically came out and revealed the asking price, what it's going to cost to acquire Anthony Davis. And the cost is role players, picks, and expiring contracts. And the fact is, when we were kind of, these things initially dropped, 80 was the centerpiece of a Luka Doncic trade. People are like, okay, the Mavericks are going to want something serious back. It didn't really make sense to the Warriors to give up that many assets, give up this. If this is the asking price for Anthony Davis, it makes things a lot more intriguing and doable. And now, this is where things get very, very weird, Houston, as we are getting a couple of trade reports, one that's just ludicrous and one that will have a deeper talk. We'll take a look at the ludicrous one to start because ESPN tossed this here out right now, as ESPN has pitched this trade proposal where the Warriors land AD. And basically, it's AD go to the Warriors along with Mason Plumlee, and Draymond Green going to the Mavericks, Jonathan Kuminga, and a first from Golden State. Buddy Hield going to the Lakers as well, and then Maxi Kleber, Dalton Connect, and Cash going to the Charlotte Hornets. Now, I get, we made a whole video out there on discussions and possibilities of Draymond Green getting traded in a Giannis Antetokounmpo trade package. And of course, that's serious. And it would hurt us. It would, the history of Draymond Green here, you do it for Giannis probably. For Anthony Davis, his injury-riddled seasons and stuff, I don't know. Am I talking crazy here, Houston, for wanting to hold Draymond Green out of these trade talks here?
You're not talking crazy, Ben. And honestly, Jonathan Kuminga, too, for everything that we have the potential for him to be, right? If you're considering, hey, maybe we do want to hang on to Jonathan Kuminga, right? Maybe some miracle happens, the relationship is mended, and you say, okay, let's keep Jonathan Kuminga too, right?
Yep.
Then the Draymond thing is ludicrous even on top of that, because you're not going to give up Draymond and your young star in Jonathan Kuminga, who a lot of people would pay a lot of stuff to get, right? You're not going to do that for Anthony Davis. And like you said, Anthony Davis, when he's at the top of his game, right, he's not matching the level of Giannis, but he is fantastic, especially what he's done when on the floor with this season, rocking the goggles, right? But you're not going to do that. You're not going to give up Buddy Hield, right? I get Buddy Hield's not the biggest deal in the world, but he has had some big moments for this team, right? He's a likable guy. And then a first two, I just don't see this happening. I don't see Mike Dunleavy biting the bullet to go get a guy in Anthony Davis who ultimately what you're probably going to get is a spot on your roster that is completely unfilled because Anthony Davis is going to be in the locker room the entire season. I know Draymond's had the injury issues a little bit. JK, Buddy have stayed healthy for the most part. If that trade happens, I'll do whatever the top comment is, Ben, and it's going to be ridiculous, but I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, it's just doesn't really make sense, right? Like, again, in a vacuum, I get it. People are always saying, oh, Warriors fans, they hold their guys to too high. This guy won multiple championships out here in Golden State. You just don't shop him and fish him around out there in these trade discussions all willy-nilly. You just don't do it, especially when your team's being competitive. I get the regression. I get all of this stuff, but Draymond Green's the heart and soul out there of this roster. Like, you don't do that. It's just something you're not going to do unless you're getting a top 5, top 10 caliber player out there in the NBA that actually plays, that's actually out there on the court. So I know there'll be some people that are kind of sick of Draymond's antics and stuff. I disagree. Let it ride, let it happen. Well, let us know in the comment section down below, folks, if you guys want to see that happen, if you want to see the Warriors end up trading for Anthony Davis. There's been a few rumors. Type Y for yes and for no. We'll respond to every comment. We've seen some other rumors percolate, from NBA Trade Report and stuff, linking the Warriors to him. More sketchy stuff on the side, if more solidified stuff, so we'll take this more seriously moving into this year's trade deadline. But one that's more interesting, I'm seeing a lot more interesting discussion around is this trade package from ESPN. Again, it's an Anthony Davis deal, but it would send Jonathan Kuminga and Buddy Hield out there to the Atlanta Hawks. AD going to the Hawks as well with Devin Carter. Zach LaVine going back to the Mavericks. Trae Young, Luke Kennard going to the Kings. And Kristaps Porzingis going to the Golden State Warriors. Now, Houston, before I give my spiel, how are you feeling about this one? Because, again, everyone's pretty high on the potential return out there for Jonathan Kuminga. We've seen the multiple reports, the Pelicans being willing to, at least a Herb Jones out there in a sweepstakes. The Pacers, Benedict Mathurin, what types of guys? KP, I don't think trade value-wise, and of course the way JK's been playing, the weird stuff, the melancholy tone from the coaches, his trade value's diminishing, but this trade package with Kristaps Porzingis coming back, it's definitely polarized, and I want to hear your thoughts before I sound off on this one.
Yeah, it's interesting too. I do think, to touch on both the AD and the Kristaps Porzingis thing, if this somehow happened, either of them, and we somehow retained a Draymond Green, you are looking at a top 5 front court of all time, especially Draymond and AD or Draymond and KP.
All time.
Think about what Draymond Green has been. Draymond Green is one of probably the best power forward smaller power forward defender of all time. Draymond has been able to do things at 6'6", 6'7".
I mean, if we're talking prime Draymond, we're talking Draymond.
Yes.
Okay, I'll let you sound off.
Think about where Draymond was. I understand it's a little bit crazy. Draymond's had the injuries. He's not where he used to be, but Draymond was in contention for Defensive Player of the Year last season. Essentially, up until the end of the regular season, that's how good Draymond was defensively. And I get Draymond and AD are at sort of the tail end of their careers, right? They're not who they used to be. But I still think Draymond and AD, if they locked in together, and again, I was just sounding off on, hey, there's no way this is happening, but live in dream world with me for a second. Even if you say, hey, not AD, let's go with KP, another incredibly solid defender, right? Plus he stretches the floor a little bit more with his shooting ability. Even when we saw it in Boston a couple of years ago, when he was at his best, he's amazing. But he's another guy that I worry about with the injury issues, right? We look at the last 6 games, out for 4 games, comes back, plays 20 minutes, has 25 points and 4 threes. He looks fantastic. KP's back on the floor, right? We're up. Hawks fans are up in arms. They're thrilled, but then misses the next game, right? So another injury-prone guy where it's like, do we want to keep adding these players to an already aging roster? I do think KP, this one makes a little bit more sense because we are keeping a little bit more, right? Not giving up the first, but I do think both of these deals are a little unserious from a team that I need to see making legitimate deals to make an actual push towards a postseason run at the end of these guys' careers, that being Steph Curry, Draymond, Jimmy Butler. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, top 5 front court of all time is we're getting wild out there. I dig it. I like it. But like Kristaps Porzingis is good. This dude is good at basketball. And I get he's only played 13 games this season, but he spaces the floor. He plays defense. He is 11th in the NBA out there in block shots per night. He can come out and we love seeing these stretch big men. If you can have a dynamic duo out there in the front court of Quinten Post, of Kristaps Porzingis, pair him alongside the big man that he won an NBA championship with, of course, in Al Horford. When he's out there playing, of course, like all these guys, they're going to be in and out of the lineup. That's just the reality of what's going on. But if we're looking, as some of the reports have indicated about Jonathan Kuminga's trade market being as bad as it might be, adding in a Kristaps Porzingis, adding a little bit more glut out there at the big man spot, so when players are in and out of the lineup, they can step up, step in, then this is a very, very intriguing move that, frankly, would have me excited, intrigued about this roster. Of course, if he's out for the entire season, you have that risk, and then you're back to square one without a huge trade asset out there, Jonathan Kuminga. So we'll see how things shape up there on that front. But folks, we appreciate every single one of you tuning into these vids and watching. We have a subscriber goal. As of recording right now, we are at 14,287 subscribers. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. We're trying to hit 15K by Christmas. So if you're enjoying it and you made it 14 minutes into this video, hit that subscribe button. It's free. It's down below. But Houston, do you have any last words on these crazy trade packages from ESPN or Steve Kerr sounding sad out there on Jonathan Kuminga?
I don't. Bring on the comments in the comment section down below. I'm ready to defend my take. Defensively, it would be absolutely ridiculous. Draymond and AD, count me in, even though it's never going to happen.
Top 5. Top 5, baby.
Top
Let's go.
5.
Cheers.